Good morning, everybody. I'm looking at the counter of our participants, and they are increasing at 9 o'clock. I think it's a good sign for us for our conference. We would like to start right now because some of the relators have a strict agenda, so they have to left earlier. So in order to cover all the topics that we have this morning, we have to stick on time. Okay, we would like to start our conference. I would like first to thank our lead partner, Hanse-Parlament, for joining us in the project, and I would like to thank you all the partners that we cooperated with. It was a challenge for us. It was a great opportunity to meet other people, to meet other partners, and to deepen a very critical topic, let's say, the integration of migrants and refugees in our countries. We will hear about our experiences we carried out within the project, in particular the Italian experience, the Austrian one, and deepen the differences between different systems and different countries. We will have also the contribution at European level from Sandra Rainero, from Veneto Lavoro, and she will give us an overview on the next developing strategies at the European level. So thank you very much again. Welcome to everybody, and let's start with the formal introduction and formal start of Roberto Santolomazza, Managing Director of T2I. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena, and welcome everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here and to have this session together about the Intact project. That is a very, very interesting and relevant project we are finishing to develop together in a very valuable partnership, and we have been experiencing really very interesting situation, and we came up already with very, very relevant results. I will be very, as Elena said, not really formal, but very synthetical, in order to have the possibility to share all the information, as much information as possible. So what I want to do is just to give you, let me, yeah, give you the, excuse me, voila. Okay, I want to share this in okay. Can you see my screen? Because I cannot understand if this is
yes,
full
can
screen.
See yes.
Yeah. So I will make it very synthetical, but just in order to give you a flavor of this project, and in order to give a common framework for the discussion this morning. So the Intact project is a project that has been co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program, and has this focus that is well synthesized by the title and the acronym that is below this title. Is about the possibility to benchmark and measure a possible common approach, knowing that there are different situations across our countries, but having very clear in mind the final objective that is really common and really share. That is a very good integration of migrants and refugees in our countries. So, and this we know we already had the possibility to experience this also in some previous projects, but it's very, very clear now that can miss a process that assess and value and work on enhancing competencies on the field. So a very short view of the partnership that as I said, as 5 countries represented with high specialized partners that have been working on these topics since a long time, and this rich variety of partners has been also a very interesting ingredients to measure and to assess the maturity of the situation in the different countries present in the project. And as you see on the upper right side of this slide, we had also a much larger network of other institution bodies, chambers that made a wider resonance of this project, namely in Germany. So basically, the target groups, we already mentioned it, is made by the newly arrived migrants and refugees in Europe. On the other side, we focus our target on SMEs that we know well. We all well know that are 99% of our economic structure throughout Europe, and more like in a triple helix or quadruple helix scheme. We also couldn't miss the public sector, the policy makers, the public stakeholders, in order to also come up with some specific and practical recommendation also to them, because we know well that this large and very challenging objective of good integration can be reached only if any dimension of the typical scheme of the quadruple helix is represented, focusing obviously on the competencies more than the typical research. So basically the reasons and needs for this project, I think, are very clear to anyone, because we know well in the last 10 years how the migrants and refugees phenomenon exploded in Europe, and Italy is well affected also because is geographical position, but we know well that is an European and a macro trend, a global macro trend to some extent. So the very challenging proposal was to work on several dimensions, understanding how also the process of integration, so also the practical aspects of any integration and possibility for a refugee or a migrant to enter a specific society has to pass through a very long bureaucratic process. But on the other side, and on this we focused, we believe and we experimented how the possibility rise really much more if we work on the competencies and the possibility to find a job and to find a much better stability in the final position. On the other hand, the other focus was the typical SME that in many cases has not such a structured organization and to some extent has much more difficulty to integrate and to understand the possibility that could come from this possibility. So basically, I do not go through numbers because then we will see, as Elena said, the situation and the figures that came country per country from each partner, and we will have the possibility to really go in deep to specific cases. But in general, I would say that the two basic objective are these. And these are matching with another very, very relevant macro trend that we are all experimenting. That is the aging population in Europe. So the necessity also to reach some solution to the increasing shortage of qualified professionals. So on one hand, we had the necessity to understand the real professional and training needs from the SMEs. On the other hand, to develop tools and training possibilities to rise up the competencies of these target groups in order to make possible the matchmaking among this need and this offer. In the middle, there is a third area of competencies that is basically the train the trainer need. The possibility also among our countries to define common platforms for having operators and vocational trainer that have the same language, that can implement really effective training activities and then share tools and methodologies. This is not such a readable slide, but it's basically the structure of the activity that we implemented, and we will have the chance to go through some of these boxes, let's say, during the following presentation. But basically, I want to stress the fact that this is a process that we translated in the project that want to be an experimental process that will have the legacy to give to the policymaker, to local institutions, some structured approach to build on this experience. This is the final message. So basically, in terms of delivery, as we say in this project, here you have a short list of the final deliverables that we will have at the end of the project that is going to come into the end in January. And as you see, there are some very practical tools and instruments, and I want to stress this to finish my presentation. We wanted to reach a common background, a common language, and a common set of tools to also have the possibility to work really on a European scale, not forgetting the specific local situation, the specific need, and we experimented that there are several differences among our territories. But on the other hand, we know that, and we tested that the approach and some tools and the necessity to assess both the competencies in input coming with the migrants, and on the other hand, the competencies that are needed in the SMEs that could matchmake with that person are the same. on the other hand, also are as intermediaries and business services organizations, we need to systematize this instrument in order to have a much more effective also circulation of people and knowledge. So basically, I don't go through the single point. I think in the meantime you already read them. But basically, I think that this project has a very interesting double focus. A very local focus on one side, and on the other hand, a very European focus, because it has an enlarged vision about also the mobility of people, the capacity to be inclusive of our society, and the necessity to face some macro trend like the aging population that we know well in a couple of decades will be a real problem for Europe if there are no solutions or adopted, or we do not really structurally face this trend. So yeah, I think if you have any question, or also to the chat bot, I think I'm fully available. I apologize because I could not stay up to the end of this meeting, but I will be here for the next hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santolomazza. And repeat, if you have any question, you can use also the chat box on your right side of the screen. And we go on with Mr. Hogefoss from Hamburg, Hanse-Parlament, our lead partner, and he will give us a brief, unfortunately, introduction about policy recommendation in the topic of integration of refugees and migrants. And during the morning, if you have some question, or we can find some time to deepen particular aspects that we just summarize. Thank you very much. And okay.
Okay, buongiorno a tutti, and thank you very much, Roberto. Hiva momento, dzień dobry, good morning. This is an international project, and we have a strong cooperation in this project, and so I'm glad that I have a couple of slides that Roberto also presented, so I can skip a few slides. But I would like to point out one thing. My organization that I represent, the Hanse-Parlament, is actually a business organization. So our background is a network of more than 50 chambers of commerce, industry and crafts, representing around 570,000 SMEs. And we have also 21 universities in the network. And our goal is always to promote the small and medium-sized economy in the Baltic Sea region, so Northeast European countries. And so we come from a business background. Why is this important? Because if you look what resources are needed for an economy to grow, in the Stone Age, this probably was fire was most important. A few decades later, metal was a very important resource. Later on, it was oil, and so on. And today, the most important resource we have in the world is knowledge. We live in an information and knowledge society, and until the artificial intelligence kicks in, the best place to store and apply knowledge is, of course, in people's minds. So we need to exploit the full potential of everybody's brain, everybody's mind. And personally, I'm very much convinced, no matter what the personal background is of somebody, no matter what his religious views are, ethnic, gender, where he comes from, every human has strengths, skills, and talents that need to be unleashed and promoted. And of course, this is often a challenge. In particular, if you work together with refugees and immigrants that come to a new country. The challenge is always to identify the skills, competences, and talents, align them with the possibilities and the personal wishes, and then promote them. And that is the background how we started this Intact project. Roberto also already presented this slide. Just to sum it up very shortly again, we looked at this gap in Europe, that we have a lack of skilled workforce, and at the same time we have migrants coming to the country. So why not align the two and use these potential of refugees and migrants to stop this lack of skilled workforce in our regions. Roberto also said what we want to achieve. What we want to achieve is a quick and sustainable integration of the newly arrived people that come to our countries, and counteract by this increasing the shortage of qualified entrepreneurs. Roberto showed you this slide also, our very fruitful partnership from Germany, Finland, Poland, and Austria, and of course Italy. The target groups have been mentioned. And I would like to concentrate now the remaining time about this last point on this slide. So we produce a lot of very tangible results on this project. We set up some tools how to identify the skills and competences. We developed curricula, train the trainer program, blueprints for coaching and integration programs, but also we worked on the political recommendations and the strategic program. So it's increasingly unlikely that this sharp shortage of skilled workers in one country will be compensated by the immigration from neighboring countries. Of course, we have a lot of migration going on between countries, like people coming from Poland going to Germany, people from Germany going to Norway, people from Spain maybe coming to Denmark, people from Romania coming to Italy, but this is not nearly enough to compensate the lack we're having. By 2030, the number of young workers in most countries will decrease by up to 30% because of the demographic change. Therefore, in all European countries, migrants could be and should be very welcome just for purely economic reasons, just to save our economy, which is often forgotten. But it's not easy. If you're a migrant coming to your country, you always face these bureaucratic recognition procedures. And in many countries, especially in Germany, I must admit, and to some extent also Italy, the red tape is very strong. So the bureaucratic procedures are very big and a large hindrance for people to start their own business or for people to start being part of their active working life. And in fact, actual skills, competences, and personal behavior in daily work practice is more decisive and should be more in the focus. So what happens is that the migrants coming to the countries with high expectations are often frustrated after several months and years, because they are somehow in this red tape area and they don't know what to do. Their recognitions from home are not accepted. They're told that they have to do an additional training from scratch or study again, and this frustrates them, of course. And the fact that the migrants are kept out of work for a long time increases their rejection by the local population also, which is a social factor. So our strategy is that we should, instead of looking at the formal procedures and the formal qualification, we look at the existing competences, skills, and knowledge of every person. This is a very individual approach. And we developed a two-stage assessment for this in the Intake project that takes about half a day, where the migrants talk together with the coaches and business intermediaries for half a day, and we tested this with about 100 migrants in the project. We strongly recommend to use this procedure in all countries interested in a more efficient integration of refugees into the working life, because it has been proven very effective and fruitful. Of course, a part of this is also that there needs to be at least a basic level of understanding. So the language training should be carried out at a B2 level at least, better C1. And it is advisable to draft training curricula that are specifically tailored to the migrants. So not just take an existing curricula that you have anyway, but you really need to tailor them to the needs of the migrants. And the language learning is best made through daily use. So in combination with internships in companies and with real life testing of the language. So instead of just sitting at home or in the classroom for the migrant, it's much easier for him to learn the language if he can at the same time spend time already in a company working on the spot and use this newly developed language skills. So the professional further training that we recommend is that migrants needs, as they have been identified in the assessment, needs to be tailored to the qualification plan. And there's a high need for that we have active companies that are willing to support the refugees and train the refugees in their companies. What is also advisable is that we try to help them develop skills that could be interesting when returning to their home country if they plan to go back in maybe 4 or 5 years after the civil war ended. So if somebody from Syria decides to go back to Aleppo in 5 years, of course it's beneficial for him to have skills that allows him to improve his own business. And this also helps Syria, but it also helps, of course, the whole world and fights poverty in that country. That's probably the best development aid that can be given. So the combination with companies is very important for us to have this practical training, not only theoretical training. We realized it doesn't help a lot if migrants just sit around the classes on their own, but they need to go out, they need to work in companies as soon as possible. So we really recommend to have short internships at companies that are willing to employ refugees. It's important to entertain the exhaustive communication with involved businesses and help the refugees to find a placement in a company. If and wherever possible, the qualifications of refugees should be completed with an official examination at the end, so that it's state recognized and the qualification, and it makes it much easier for them to later find another job in that same country, so that they are not too much bound to the company they already started their training, but they are free to work at other places as well. And this probably will promote their further career in their home country as well. Yeah, like I pointed out, this what in Erasmus Plus is always called work-based learning is one of the key elements that we develop. So to have really the accompanying coaching, to have a coaching from the beginning until the end with companies and on the spot. And this should be advised by a coach through the whole time. And of course, it's a matter of trust. If you do coaching, it's very important that the same person is the one coaching the refugee. And if you have a lot of personal changes and different coaches, the refugees get frustrated. In Germany, we had one example where one refugee said he's very thankful for all the coaching he's get, but at the moment he has 8 different advisors for 8 different areas in Germany. So from a legal advisor, an economic advisor, a social advisor, it's just too confusing, so many people, and then these people change also in between. So the best thing is to have one person with a lot of trust doing this coaching. This is what the timeline looks like. So we start with the assessment and create individual plans in the first month. Then in the month 2 and 3, we start with the language training, and we start with the trainer sessions. Then later on, about half a year in, the further vocational training starts, and as soon as possible, starting in month 3, the internships were initiated in the small and medium-sized enterprises, and of course, during the whole time, whenever possible, we asked to have them placed already in a company, so they learn on the spot. The last point I would like to stress out is that we need a proactive immigration policy. What we're doing now is not enough. I think we spent the immigration policy that we need should be very flexible and reflect the country-specific needs and the country-specific possibilities. At the moment, the migration policy is hardly existing in many countries. But what we do we spend a lot of time and a lot of money in development aid. So we give money to foreign countries to help them to fight poverty. But we believe the best way to fight poverty is to stop discrimination at borders. So we need to open up borders. To give you a number, in the last 50 years, we spent $135 billion annually in development aid, so $5 trillion have been invested. But actually, this gap between rich and poor countries didn't get smaller, but it grew. So the big gap got bigger, and this doesn't help a lot. It's a waste of money, more or less. It's much better to invest this money into the refugees that come to your country, integrate them, and give them a future, and maybe help them to start their business if they return later on. So we are really convinced we need open borders and should invest more money to help the people that come to our countries instead of just sending money to foreign countries where it more or less disappears and doesn't fight poverty at all. Lastly, I would just like to point out that every failed integration is a tragedy. Of course, for that person, but for the society and its economics also. The person coming to a country that doesn't see any hope, has to sit in 2 or 3 years in some kind of camp without working, of course, gets frustrated. And then the government has to pay for this person sitting in the camp. And it would be much easier to support this refugee, help him to start a business so he can contribute to the society and contribute to the taxes even. And successful integration is never easy, especially not with refugees coming from war countries. But every integrated person inside a society is beneficial for the society, for the economic, and of course for the person himself or herself. So this is the background of the policy recommendations. You can find all of them also on our website. And I rushed through it a little bit, but I think we're good in time now. And thank you very much for your attention. I'll be here for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hogeforce. And it was very rush, I know, very quick, but I think that we had the possibility to appreciate and to focus the attention on the main challenges that are still open. And from this point of view, it will be interesting to deepen how the European Union is dealing with the integration topic. And for this reason, we have the pleasure to have with us Sandra Raineiro from Veneto Lavoro, a regional body here in Veneto region that is in charge to manage all the topics, all the themes connected to the work, to the labor market. Also from the regional point of view and European point of view. So thank you very much, Sandra, for your contribution, and let's hear about what is doing Europe in the topic of integration.
Okay, thank you, Elena. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Damen und Herren. Buongiorno a tutti. That's pretty much my language skills. As Elena was mentioning, I represent the regional system of employment services, and I will be talking about mostly, first of all, I will give you some basic information about what we're doing at regional level on the topic of integration. And then I will give you some highlights on how Europe is moving. Also, maybe just you will have some data or information where you can compare how your strategy that you are suggesting, which I very much subscribe personally, and if this is going in the same direction where Europe is going. So what I will be, before I move on, I just want to give you just some basic information. You know, Veneto region is about 5 million inhabitants. about 10% of people living in Veneto are from other countries, and about 11-12% of the workforce in Veneto is made up of people of non-Italian nationality. As Veneto Lavoro, in addition to the public employment services, we're also a technical assistant to the regional government, both on immigration issues and European social funds. So we deal as technical assistant these two topics. Very briefly, what are we doing in terms of monitoring and somehow promoting inclusion and integration of migrants? We work with the unit of the Veneto region, which has the migration mandate, and we manage the immigration information network. We also, as part of our observatory of the labor market, we also have the observatory of immigration, where we use statistical data that we use also for from our administrative data on employment, but also on other topics, more of qualitative issues, such as we're working right now on health issues. We've been working on vocational training and second generations. So we do a lot of research on to see how the picture is changing over time. We also manage regional and national projects on the AMIF fund, the current one. And as you will see, we are working on some of the things that have already been mentioned earlier on. So the importance of language. So we work with the schools and the adult learning centers to provide the language classes, formal and non-formal. And we work together with, in terms of governance, we know that integration is definitely skills, it's definitely work, but it's also other aspects of, you know, of the human being. So we're also working on health, housing, and all the different dimensions of integration. We work also on other topic. One is more related to employment. And you know that agriculture primary sector is one of those sectors where there are more undeclared work and labor exploitation. So we're working with a regional and national network on that. And we're working also on discrimination. So we have the observatory on discrimination related to work, but also other aspects of life. Okay, now I'll try to briefly introduce where Europe is going in general terms, and then more in particular in the topic of migration. What you see on the screen on the left-hand side are the 5 new thematic objectives of the new European policy for the period 21-27. If you are familiar with this policy, with this programming period, right now we have 11 thematic objectives. So there has been a simplification. Of course, the whole world has changed. Since in 12-13, we started with the current, almost finishing programming period. And these 5 thematic objectives reflect the priorities and the new focus of what happens. On the on the left-hand side, you see the political commitment. Okay, if on the right-hand side you see what the Commission says, now we see what Ursula von der Leyen wrote in January. Remember that in 2020 timing is essential, so this was before we actually had the outbreak of the pandemic. And you see that these political and technical or thematic objectives are very similar. In the first part, on the technical level, we have the idea that, as was said before me, smarter knowledge society needs to be continued to be promoted. Okay, a greener, carbon-free Europe. That's also is not only smart, but it's necessary. A more connected Europe, a more social Europe, and in this case, this is where we will also focus on the programs that I'm going to share with you, and a Europe closer to citizens. You see that Ursula von der Leyen has somehow changed the order, okay, but in a way reflects what is already been identified in the thematic objective. So the first one is the Green Deal. Green Deal means, of course, green, but it also means it's related to sustainability, but it's also deals with technologies to make this Green Deal possible. An economy that works for people. And again, here we have the sort of promotion of economy that is closer to people, to companies and to people. The digital revolution that is continuing. And then protecting our European way of life. We know that Europe is quite shy in terms of, because of internal differences, of talking about migration as an opportunity rather than dealing with migration in a more conservative way, let's say. Okay, so within the European way of life, and especially on the basic values and principles of the European Union, in this specific priority is where we find most of the information, political information on migration and asylum. The new Pact on Migration and Asylum was released in September, so it's quite new. And I would be talking about it in a while. A stronger Europe in the world and a new push for European democracy, because we see that there are many, how can I say, movements against that. So I will start now with very shortly to give you an overview about this new pact on migration and asylum. And here I also want to highlight the words. The words are very important. The current program that deals with migration and asylum is called Migration, Asylum and Integration. In the next programming period, integration disappears from the title. Doesn't mean that it disappears as an objective, but this is a very important thing because there have been a lot of different input and questions about using this word. The migration and asylum, of course, also reflects the different kind of newcomers that we have seen in the past 6 or 7 years. We know now that everyone who enters Europe legally, with very few exceptions, are either asylum seekers or refugees. We have very few formally economic migrants, so people who migrate for economic reasons. Of course, this is not the reality, it's the reality of words, a definition, but not of what is happening. So what I will focus on, you will see the migration and asylum has different priorities and actions. Of course, is the restructuring of the immigration and asylum system, the border management, the fight against smuggling and human trafficking, working with other countries. But what is more say relevant to this project also is how to attract skills and talent in the EU, and how support integration for more inclusive societies. So these are the two one. And of course, this is totally in aligned to what the project is doing. Aging and shrinking population, therefore the need to find, especially in some sectors, skills, people that will replace aging people and other shortages. So therefore, the skills will be one of the main, let's say, point of attention of the new Pact on Migration and Asylum. The second action has to do with a more holistic approach to inclusion. And you can see here is called Action Plan on Integration and Inclusion. Okay, so it will deal definitely with training, employment, but also other aspects, as I said before, on dimensions of inclusion. So that includes not only people at work, but people that, like especially young people that have an education, health, participation in culture and sports, and therefore benefiting from not only from the work and the economic side, but living really the reality of the new country where they live. In terms of inclusion, what used to be in the past, for example, before it was Lisbon, then it was Europe 2020. Now everything that has to do with inclusion is referred to the European Pillar of Social Rights. I will not talk about that because we don't have time, but that's the new, let's say, reference point for everything that has to do with inclusion. I will just give you an overview of how the original MFF, so the multi-annual financial framework that was released in 2018, and now it has been integrated with the Next Generation EU, and see how in terms of financial resources where we stand with all migration issues. Okay, you see, I hope you see the two different colors. The total amount of financial resources that are allocated for the next 7 years are, 1,824 billion euros. Okay, you will see that in terms of migration and border management, the envelope that was allocated in 2018 has remained unchanged. So has remained unchanged the neighborhood. What Max was saying earlier, we're spending money, we're not receiving. But however, it's if you see the difference between 22.7 billion and almost 100 billion. There is a difference there. So there is an interest that is not only related to migration, we know, it has to do with trade and other things. Even though we see that in terms of migration here, the envelope hasn't changed, and I'll explain also why. You see that the Next Generation EU, okay, has improved a lot, has increased a lot all these actions and programs that will deal with cohesion, resilience, and values. This envelope here is where you will find basically European Social Fund, cohesion funds. Okay, so this is just the outlook on how the new programming period will be structured. Now I'm going to talk together with European Social Fund, so the ESF Plus and the Asylum Migration Fund, because they work more closely together. This is good news in a way, because it means that we, as a Europe sees it, more than before, or they are trying to do more than before. It's not that in this current period it is not happening, because we're working on an Erasmus project, but also European Social Fund is also spending money on migrants. But this synergy is going to be much higher, much stronger than in the current period. So we'll see that, of course, we need to consider pre-COVID, post-COVID regulations. We see that what I have shown you refers to, let's say, the updating of the May 2018 proposals with the May 2020 recovery package. And the recovery package includes strategic investment in employment and social policies and system for people who are in Europe. That also includes migrants or refugees. In terms of what the European Social Fund is doing, basically the ESF Plus will will be strengthened in terms of funding, but will continue to have the typical structure of European Social Fund. So there's nothing really new on this. So the European Social Fund, the Youth Employment Initiative, the aid to the most deprived, and the so-called EASY program. So this will continue, okay, as it is now. Okay, there are some simplification measures for the fund programming and measuring. You will see that in the new European Social Fund, we have at least two. I think these are all transversal, that apply to all workers. But you will see there is one specific objective, that is the integration of social economic integration of third country nationals. So it is moved more clearly in the new European Social Funds, as well as people at risk of poverty or social exclusion. So we know that many migrants are in this category. So just to conclude this, because unfortunately I will have to leave because I'm opening another conference. Where this is going to be better complementarity between the funds. That is the Asylum and Migration Fund will deal with early integration measures, that is, language, housing, so the immediate for the newcomers, whereas ERDF and ESF Plus will focus and will have the resources for longer term integration. For example, in case, as you mentioning for your project, when you have longer vocational training for qualifications and so on, this will be more on that. And then, of course, we also have all the other programs that focus on specific aspects. For example, Erasmus Plus, that has to do with education, but there are others that can be like Horizon, for example, that can be used on that. So I am done. I will have this presentation available for you. I only have 2 minutes, so if you have any question, I will be glad to answer right now.
Any question? No, I think it's not so easy.
Yeah.
So just have a question from my side. Since you are an expert in the topic, we have seen it. So which is your impression about this new view of Europe regarding migration and asylum? It is it really a big change in terms of considering the topic or not?
No. The short answer is no. However, there is progress. There is progress on that, but as I said, 10 years ago we had a totally different migration dynamics than we have now, and therefore we are changing. We're changing also the way dealing with refugees is not the same thing as dealing with migrants for economic reason. I think you've seen this in your project because I've been working in many projects like that, and I know that there are differences. I think, however, that this new complementarity in a way is a step ahead in terms of mainstreaming. So recognizing that migrants are part of our society and we don't need to do anything separated for them than we do for other people that need support in terms of skills and things like that. We know, for example, language might be a problem, but on the other hand, maybe this is the only positive step that I see here. So sort of mainstreaming into general policies rather than focusing on the very early newcomers measures for the others. So I think that might be a shift that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. I know that you have to leave because you are involved in another meeting. So thank you very much again. And I asked to the participants if they have particular questions for Sandra. Maybe you can just write on the chat box and we will share them with Sandra and provide some individual answers. Okay. Thank you very much again. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
And this was a jump in the European perspective, and now we come back into our project. And it was mentioned that the relevance of skills and competencies in the labor market, skills and competence, they are facing a lack because there is the problem of lacking competencies or lacking people available to work. So the first challenge of our project was to create a tool able to investigate skills and competencies and work experiences of our target, let's say migrants and refugees. So I give the microphone to Mr. Uwe Schaumann, and he will describe the tool, the specific Intact tool that has been developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. And hello, dear project partners and visitors to the conference. I hope you can see my presentation because I have a very small screen and I can't see everything. My name is Uwe Schaumann, you know, and I represent the Hamburg University of Corporate Education called Berufsakademie Hamburg. And in cooperation with the Hanse-Parlament, we are responsible for developing the self-assessment tool. Unfortunately, my esteemed colleague, Professor von Kidrowski, you know, cannot take part today because he has to conduct important exams with our students. But he sends his best wishes to all of you. And now I will explain the tool for assessing competencies and some of our experiences. But let me say before I start, the challenge for research was to create a common instrument for different countries and different groups of migrants. But regarding to the discussion before, in our view, migrants and refugees are not very different for developing this instrument. Okay. Oh, wait a moment, I can't. Yes, okay. The focus of the development of the tool was the question how one can give a reliable assessment of the existing skills within the framework of the project. And they are basically different options. Extensively, tests could be carried out that measure more or less the entire school education of the target group. However, this procedure cannot be carried out in the context of such a project. But there's also the possibility of having the competencies of the target group assessed by external experts. For this purpose, the experts orientate on existing figures and data and facts. You can see it here on the slide. For example, information from the curriculum vitae or from certificates or proof of qualification. And such information was partially available in the project through the instrument. And in addition, experts can also obtain important information about existing skills through interviews and discussions with the target group. And this form of competence measurement was used in the project too. But the most important tool for assessing competencies is a self-assessment tool by the target group itself. For this purpose, a tool was developed that includes different areas or sections of competence. The SAT is a self-assessment tool, we call it in our project. And the conceptual basis for the selection of relevant competencies is based on two perspectives or views. First, the entrepreneurship competence framework you can see here, and the next, the classic distinction between competencies in professional, methodological, social, and personal competencies. Let me tell you something about the first view. The entrepreneurship competence framework was conceptually taken into account because entrepreneurial thinking and acting are the focus. In many companies, it plays a major role that employees can also think along in the interest of the company or the entrepreneur and act as independently as possible. Often, good specialists and employees can also become entrepreneurs, and that was the reason why we use this instrument to design our self-assessment tool. An important point in the project was the question of how refugees in the countries of residence can become qualified specialists and employees, maybe even self-employed entrepreneurs. And the online self-assessment tool is divided into 5 areas. You can see it here in the last version. And in the first section, the participants should provide information about their personal background. You know, the questionnaire with questions to home country and the age, the length of stay, the residence status, the work permit, and so on. And in the second section is particularly concerned with their professional backgrounds and important educational requirements. For example, the existing qualification, the education level, and the working experience, and so on. And in the third section is particularly concerned with their professional backgrounds and important educational requirements. Oh, that was the second, sorry. The third section is the distinction in the competencies. And the different competencies play a crucial role in the self-assessment. The items are closely related to selected contents of the entrepreneurship competence framework. And in the fourth section, the participant should give his or her assessment of their professional future. You can read the last question, perhaps, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Very important information for our experts later on. And in the last section, there is a possibility to provide further information wishes and ideas. And the following slides show some questions and items from different areas of the online tool, respectively the questionnaire. I hope you can see the slides. It's a little bit, sometimes it's very small. You can hardly see it. The personal background in section 1, the questions to the age and to gender, and for how long have you stayed in this country, Germany, Italy, or Denmark, and so on. And the next slide, you can see some questions about the professional background. What is your highest education level, with different answers, or how many years of working experience for a company do you have, and very important information for our experts and for the consultants in the project partner countries. And methodological competencies, you can see it here. That's the last version of our questionnaire, and you get this questionnaire in the special information from the project. Okay, and the future outlook, you can see perhaps a little bit better. I can well imagine taking up an occupation in one of the following fields of activity, with multiple answers are possible, and very important information for our experts. And the results of the online tool and the other information from the self-assessment phase will later be used by the experts, you can see here, in a second part to first check the results of the self-assessment and, if necessary, to ask questions. In this way, the experts also validate the existing information. As experts, they know what opportunities the current job market offers. They must also be able to assess how the refugee can be integrated into the labor market. For this, you usually use your networks. As can be seen on this slide, the results of the self-assessment must be known to the experts so that they can provide individual advice. Following this phase, the main task of the consultants and, if necessary, other members of the organization is to plan the further procedure and further support for the refugees on the basis of the validated results. And in the fourth pass, in an exchange and dialogue with the refugees and their needs, they consider which training, which advice, or which further support they need. And the bandwidth is very high. Some refugees may need additional language courses, while others may be able to do an internship in a company due to their existing skills. Others may already be able to take up work with support and assistance. As a rule, a smaller proportion will be interested in starting their own business. And on the next slide, you can see some international experiences and insights with the use of the self-assessment tool. And we have reached that the use of the multi-stage procedure must be well prepared in the organizations. The technical requirements for the online assessment are just as important as the instruction of all those involved, and especially the experts. And to be able to use the tool, the participants, migrants, sometimes refugees, must have sufficient language skills. And it is important to build trust and demonstrate transparent process for the participants. The participants must be made very clear that the online tool is not an exam, but a self-assessment. And presence of a regular contact persons for participants in the competence assessment procedure is crucial. And in an expert discussion with the participants, and individual consultation should take place. Central to this are at least the questions. And what knowledge and skills does someone already have as an employee, or perhaps as a potential entrepreneur? And what additional support does he need, training, counseling, or coaching? And the tool is, in our view, the beginning of further support and recommendations, in particular from measures of professional qualification or in individual cases for further training to become an entrepreneur in the future. All in all, we are convinced that the project partners were able to implement the idea very well. And I personally want to hope that in the future we will see each other at the meeting or conference, and stay healthy and see you soon. Yeah. Many thanks for your attention. And if you have any questions, I hope I can answer, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I would like to hear if someone has a question for Mr. Schallmann. No? Okay, we go on. If you have some questions, please send us your message on the chat. And we go on with Justina. Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm sure that I will make a big mistake, but Justina Kaksorek, I hope so. And our partner from Poland, and she will describe what they have done in their country. And thank you very much in advance.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Yes.
I have some problems with my presentation, but just wait for a minute. I try to share it to you.
And we can see it. It's not a problem from our side.
Yes, but I have problem with keeping the slides. And I don't know why is the problem with that. Okay, I can do it now. You can all see it, right? Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. I hope you stay healthy. And the topic of my presentation is experience with competence assessment and qualifications in Poland. But before we proceed to the summary, I would like to say just a few words about our organization. We are an organization of economic self-government, of craftsmanship and small and medium-sized enterprises. We have been operating since 1945, and since 1948, the set of our chamber is located at 38 Prosta Street in Olsztyn. Currently, we have 15 guilds and 2 craft cooperatives in our organization. We conduct journeyman's exams for juveniles and adults in nearly 40 professions. As the only one in Poland, we have established an examination board in the profession of a horse shoemaker. We also, of course, conduct master exams. The first task of our chamber was to test the competence assessment tool developed within the framework of the Intact project. First of all, we went to Schwerin, where the Chamber of Crafts, partner of the Intact project, is located. Since the second workshop in Treviso, we have been in contact with the representatives of the Chamber. We were invited to participate in the competence assessment.
Ja, dass das euch nicht ganz wegnimmt. Ich habe euch dass die dann ganz weggehen. Aber die Schwarz ist sehr spezifische Arbeitsrechtsfragen.
I'm sorry, someone's microphone is on.
Ja. Ja, genau.
Yes, that's
Okay.
Max Vogelforster.
Okay, thank you.
Willst du mal fragen, was das machen will?
I don't know, can I go on?
Sorry, I can't stop him.
Genau, am besten rufst du sie
Max?
an.
Max? Max?
Max, stop your
Your
microphone.
microphone is on.
Sprecher is okay.
Okay, so I can go on. Okay. So in our work, we wanted to be inspired by the work of the Schwerin Chamber, as the project assumes, in order to carry out our test well. For this purpose, on February 27, 2019, we were able to be present during the test, which started with the filling in the online questionnaires. Then the participants were interviewed. The chamber employees provided us with interview questionnaires on the basis of which we prepared our questions for interviews with test participants in Poland. And at this point, I would, of course, like to thank the Schwerin Chamber Crafts for allowing us to participate in the competence assessment. Thank you very much. And the first step of our competence assessment was to translate the online questionnaire into Polish. Then the questionnaire was placed on the official website of the Intact project. We invited 22 people, 11 women and 11 men, to take part in the test. There were Poland, 14 people, Ukraine, 4 people, and Kazakhstan, Belarus, Sweden, and Egypt, 1 person from each. Knowledge of the Polish language of each of them was sufficient to fill in the questionnaire, and understand the meaning of the questions was not a problem. The participants filled out online questionnaire in places convenient for them. We did not invite them to the chamber for this purpose. And the results were sent to the email addresses of the office. After analyzing each questionnaire, we invited them to set up the chamber for further interviews. And the interviews were conducted by 2 people, me. I work as a human resources specialist and local government assistant, and by Ms. Anna Zajączkowska. She's the head of the educational department and vocational training center. First of all, of course, the respondents were informed about the rules of personal data processing in our organization, the purpose for which the data were collected, and how they will be stored. The interviews made it possible to collect some supplementary information and personal impressions, as well to assess to what extent the information provided in the questionnaire is true. After the analysis, each participant was presented with conclusions and recommendations of the interviewers regarding further training or professional career, and the individual interviews lasted for a maximum half an hour. During the analysis, we came to the conclusion that some participants overstated their answers to show themselves in the best possible light. Many people wanted to do their best during the self-evaluation, of course. There were also some doubts about the level of the education, because the educational structure grades vary from country to country. And the question of socially recognized, respected position was also problematic. The respondents considered it unfair to treat some professions as more respected than the others, and wondered where is the borderline between a respected and less respected position. The results of the survey did not themselves allow for a final assessment of the abilities, skills or knowledge of the participants. Interviews are an essential part of the competence assessment tool. Not all the questions in the self-assessment questionnaire were understood by the respondents. and they were not able to give an ambiguous answers in every question. However, we were able to clarify any doubts and discrepancies during the discussions with the participants, and the combination of the two stages of competence assessment was evaluated very positively. It is important that the interviewers should be well prepared for cultural differences. They must have knowledge of differences in areas such as religion, education, work, gender approach, or even the conversation itself. The differences between the country of residence and the home country can be enormous, and without this knowledge, many mistakes can be made that can alienate the person under analysis. This will result in lack of trust, problems in further cooperation, and the whole counseling process may end in failure. We all agree that trying to find your own place and to arrange your life in a foreign country is an extremely stressful situation anyway. That is why people working with foreigners must be well prepared at every level of cooperation. And in this case, our task was all the simpler because the analyzed people came either from Poland or stay long enough in our country or came from the same cultural circle. The experience gained with the competence assessment will be very beneficial for the further functioning and work of our organization in changing reality. The results of the experience will improve in particular the work of the Department of Education in the area of vocational counseling, especially taking into account the increasing percentage of foreigners coming to our country who represent an opportunity for the small and medium enterprises sector. Within the INTAX project, our chamber was also obliged to test the training programs created within the project. The first training carried out was health and safety at work. This training was developed and tested first in Italy, Treviso, by one of the project partners. During the preparation of our training, we were guided by the experience of the partner. We have reviewed the training program prepared by the partner, which was then adapted to our needs. Our chamber conducted periodic health and safety training, which was aimed at updating and strengthening knowledge and skills in the field of health and safety at work, risk associated with work, and methods of protection against those risks, as well as procedures to be followed in the event of accidents and emergency situations. The training took place, such training may take the form of a course, seminar, or guided self-study. And we have decided to carry out the training mainly for young employees in laborers positions. As well, we have the closest contact with this target group, and the organizations associated with in our chamber have been given supervision of their education. The training took place on 7th October 2019 and included 8 teaching hours. The training was organized in the form of guided self-study. This is the form of training enabling to obtain, update, or supplement knowledge and skills in the field of occupational health and safety on the basis of materials provided by the training organizer, while ensuring consultation with person meeting the requirements for lecturer. The training was attended by 32 participants. Participants were aged from 15 to 34 years old, 15 years 1 person, 16 years 7, 17 years 19 people, 18 years 3 people, 19 and 34 years 1 person from each. And the participants of the training were studying in the following professions: cook, car mechanic, car electromechanic, hairdresser, tailor, confectioner, and electrician. The gender classification was as follows. Women were 23 and 9 of them was men. Periodic training shall end with an examination to check that the trainee has acquired the knowledge contained in the training program and is able to carry out or organize his work in accordance with the rules and principles of health and safety at work. The trainees have therefore completed the examination test. The results of all tests were positive, and each participant has received a certificate. At the end of the training, the participants and lecturer were asked to fill in the evaluation sheets, and the participants were satisfied with the training and rated the individual aspects of the course highly. Among the strong points of the training were training material, including presentations and films, usefulness of the presented information in future work and everyday life, first aid, employment rights, working hours, and the right to holiday leave, increasing the possibilities to finding a job and increasing the effectiveness of work. Weak points are mainly the duration of the training. Participants will like the training to last longer. The lecturer evaluated very positively all aspects of the training indicated in the questionnaire. Initial and periodic training in safety and health at work is an essential part of employment and the responsibility of every employee and employer. The same training must be provided to persons with Polish citizenship as well as foreigners. For the second group, it is so important that the rules of health and safety at work may be different in the country of origin of the training participant. Lack of appropriate trainings may lead to misunderstandings or dangerous situations in the workplace. We believe that trainings addressed to migrants should indicate the existing difference in health and safety at work between their home country and their current place of residence. And in future, we plan to continue to provide similar trainings for both young workers and other target groups. The second training was conducted ABC running a business. Such a training was developed and tested first in Germany by one of the project partners. During the preparation of our training, we were guided by the experience of the project partners. Our chamber has conducted a training on setting up a business in Poland and all procedures related to it. The training was addressed to foreigners who wanted to expand their knowledge of labor law in Poland and think about running their own business in the future. The training was carried out in the form of a 2-day course. The training took place on 6 and 7 March 2020 and included 12 teaching hours. And the training was organized in the form of a guide self-education, just like the first training. The training covered primarily issues related to the labor law, running your own company, personal data protection, issues related to the conclusion of various types of contracts and verification of contractors, and the most important control authorities in the country. The training was attended by 22 people. The country of origin of foreigners was mainly Ukraine, 19 of them, but there were also people from other countries, namely Belarus, Germany, and Russia. Participants were aged between 21 and 51, as you can see. Majority of the students were female, 12 of them, and 10 students were male. The course ended with an exam testing the participants' knowledge of the program and their ability to perform or organize work or hire employees in accordance with regulations. In connection with the above, the participants fill in the verification test. The results of all tests were positive. The organizer of the training confirmed the course by issuing a certificate to each participant. And all the participants are assured that they can turn to our organization for advice and help at any time and are absolutely not alone. At the very end of the training, the participants and lecturer were asked to fill in the evaluation sheets. The participants were satisfied with the training and rated the various aspects of course high. Among the strengths of the training, they pointed out transparency of the information provided, good explanation of the topics by the lecturer, motivation, encouragement to start one's own business in the future, usefulness of the presented information for further work and everyday life, knowledge of workers' rights, increasing the possibility of finding a better job, and increasing the effectiveness of the work. They did not notice any weaknesses. The participants pointed out that they would not change anything in the course. The lecturer also very positively evaluated all aspects of the training indicated in the questionnaire. Training in setting up and running a business in Poland is very important for people from other countries. As we know, there may be many differences between the labor law or regulations on running a business in their home country and the one that they are currently in. It can often be difficult to find yourself in a new reality and dare to run a business in a foreign country among the people who speak a foreign language. Lack of proper training can lead to many misunderstandings, discouragements, failure, or dangerous situations in the workplace. We believe that training for migrants should also indicate the existing difference in health and safety at work and processing of personal data between their home country and their current place of residence. In the future, we also plan to continue to provide similar trainings as the response has been very positively. Well, at the end, I would like to say that participation in the Intact project was a fascinating adventure. We hope that the result of our work will bring many benefits to the small and medium-sized enterprises sector. I would like to thank Hanse-Parlament, our lead partner, and all project partners for the excellent cooperation. As you know, your work has been a great inspiration for us. Remember that together we can do everything. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you all at our conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you. I would like also to see you, but not on a screen. But unfortunately, due to Corona pandemic, we were forced to have this conference and the next conference in Poland.
Yes.
Online. It could be good because we can enlarge the participation, but from the other side, yes, I think that the individual one-to-one exchange is better. But in any case, thank you very much for your presentation, your contribution. It was quite interesting to see how the project was implemented in Poland. I have to say that the different countries involved in the project, let's say Italy, Germany, Austria, and Poland, they experimented in almost completely different ways the topics, and they pursue in different ways the objectives of the project. So it's quite interesting to see the differences, how it is possible to make to perform in different ways, having in mind the same objectives. So we go on with the Austrian partners. Hello, we have Mrs.
Hello.
Wiffel. Okay,
Hello.
Mrs. I think, yes. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. And she will describe the experience in Austria, in Wien, let's say. And thank you very much.
Can you hear me all? Because I'm.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then I would also like to welcome everyone here in this digital conference and send greetings from Austria. And in the next 50 minutes, I will briefly summarize the following topic in the context of the INTACT project, the qualification of refugees as skilled workers in Austria. And for that, I have prepared 5 points. The first point is the requirements for skilled workers on the Austrian job market in general. And the second one is the requirements for people with a refugee background as skilled workers in specific. And based on these points, there are challenges for people with a refugee background as skilled workers that I want to discuss. Also, what kind of challenge these people have to deal with. And based on this analysis, we have taken the measures listed under point 4 about what we have done in the project, the development and implementation of qualification measures for the participants. And then the last point, I bring a summary and the conclusion. Generally, the requirements for skilled workers on the Austrian job market. The first point is the professional aspect, the qualification, the vocational training and the work experience. This means what kind of education you bring with you. This education can be formal, non-formal or informally acquired. What kind of school you went to, what training you have attended, what qualifications you have informally acquired, all these aspects. And then the work experience, which work experience you are bringing with you, and what kind of certificates you bring with you that you can prove your professional experience. And the second aspect is the personal aspect, and that is also very important. This means what interests do you have? Also, what talents have you developed? What is your mental and also physical condition? Yeah, your personal attitude and conditions. Where do you live? The place of residence is also very important to get a skilled job, because it makes a difference. If you live in Vienna, but the jobs are in Upper Austria, then it's simply too far away and you have a real problem, especially if you have a family and you have family obligations and you can't bring along enough flexibility. Then it's not so easy. And beside the personal aspect, there are also the legal aspects that it's really a requirement, because you need a full access to the labor market, and also you need valid certificates about your qualification in order to obtain a good job in Austria, a qualified job. This is also very important. These are aspects that you have, that's no matter from where you are. And if I go to the second point, all these requirements is very similar for all people, for everyone. Neither you are living here or somewhere in Europe, or you have a refugee background. It's the same, but so I'm coming already to the third point. People with a refugee background, it's different for them, because they have many more challenges to overcome in order to get a qualified job in Austria. And Justina already said in the speech before, the cultural challenge is really a very big one. Austria, the work in Austria, it's quite different. The culture of cooperation, the culture of working hours, the culture of men and women, the culture with customers, many things are very different here in Austria for the people who are here, who are come to Austria, who were coming to Austria. And also the organizational challenge is not to be downplayed, because people with a flight background, they have left everything behind. Everything they have already built up in their home country, they have left behind. They start from zero, from nothing, and they have no resources, hardly no resources. They have no network that is so important for getting a good job, and it's also a big financial challenge they have to cope with. So the financial organizational challenge is also a big one, and the language skills are, of course, also a big challenge, because if you want to do a qualified job in Austria, it's simply necessary to be able to speak the language fluently. Here, if you want to do more than an unskilled worker job, there are often there are of course exceptions. For example, if you're a programmer and you don't have really hardly any customer contact, then maybe the language skills are not so important, but normally you need really profound language skills to be able to do a qualified job. So the language skills are really also very important, that you have to manage that. And the next point is also the professional, as the vocational challenge is also important. And you have to prove your qualification when you want to get a skilled job. You have to prove a qualification you have done in your home country, and that's very, very difficult, because you can't often compare qualifications in other countries with the qualification in Austria. They are not easily comparable. And for example, as an architect or a doctor, lawyer, or nurse, the trainings are often quite different. And so it's also for the people here in Austria a big challenge. The Austrians really don't know how to classify these educations, yeah, and yeah, that's a challenge we have to cope with. And also the personal level is an important point, because the people have experienced many bad, traumatic things, and they must also be capable and willing to do a qualified job. So we have to cope with many challenges, and based on this analysis, we developed a catalog of measures in the index project, and there were two parts of qualification measures we have identified: the general part and the specific part. The general part concerns all participants, and the special, the individual part, is tailored to the needs and requirements of each participant. And the general part, it is in any case the language skills in general, German language skills, oral and written. And at the beginning, we had, as I go now to the overview of the German language course, and at the beginning of the project, we had the big challenge that the participants had different levels, from A1 to C1. And in order to have as many participants as possible who were really interested in joining the program, we decided to split the courses and offer B1, B2, and C1. And we found a good partner, the Wi-Fi, and they provided us a very experienced German teacher who was empathetic and very understanding and competent in conducting the language course with the participants. And for example, this is the C1 course, how we offered that course. And here are some impressions during the language course with our trainer. And yes, and the result of the language course was it needs more. A language course is simply too less. We had trained 24 participants in total, and if you know that how you learn a language the best, then it's important that you learn that in really different life situations, preferably in the everyday life. And so we organized a second German course, a C1, and started with it at the beginning of February. And yes, and then came Corona. So until the 9th of March, we could have the course in our house. And then afterwards, yes, Corona came, and we didn't stop the course. We made the course digital, and it worked quite very well. And after this course, it turned out that this course has already achieved a lot, but it was again too less. So especially the written expression should be trained further. And so we developed further courses, trainings, and the qualification in writing expression, developing text comprehension, designing presentations, and business communication in writing forms. And these courses are currently being held until the end of January 2021. And these are our courses, how we offer that our participants. The next point is that it is also very important how Justina already said, that the cultural differences, and we tried to offer this training of intercultural communication skills in the framework of the language course. And to give you some examples of the difference on intercultural trainings is, for example, the differences about appointment arrangements. In Austria, for example, it's very important when you have an application, when you have a meeting, you arrive punctually, preferably 5 minutes before, certainly not half an hour before, because you definitely maybe you bring your counterpart in stress, because maybe he's just in the middle of preparation, and you definitely don't arrive half an hour later or someone in the morning. So when 9 o'clock is arranged, you should really be in time. In other countries, maybe that's not so strict. In Austria, being too late, being an unaccused hour late, is considered as a sign of great unfriendliness and disrespect. So, yeah, if you want to have a job, you have to be in time. For example, for our participants, it's important to know that. Also, the greeting rituals. In Austria, before Corona times, it was quite normal to shake hands, especially right hand. And in other countries, it's different. Yeah, for example, in France, people hug each other very quickly, even if they don't know each them well. But now, Corona time, everything is quite different. And so it's also with eye contact that it's we as here in Austria, when we look each other into the eyes when we talk to each other, but not so intensively, and it's not a sign of aggression if we are looking into our eyes each other. But there are also cultures where it's a sign of aggression, and in other countries they look much more into your eyes, and it's also a sign of normal conversation. So it's important to know all these different cultural aspects. Yes, and it is also important to do a training for the application training. Also during the coaching, my Sophie Bernard will talk about that more. The participants were prepared for the possible job applications, and it became clear that there are cultural differences in the application process for a job. And in order to prepare the participants well for the job interviews, in order to prepare them for the application process, we prepared and conducted a training with them. For this purpose, we could found, so we had a very good trainer about that, experienced trainer who conducted the training via Zoom, because it was already in Corona time as we have done that. And the objectives of that workshop, the video presentation and self-confidence for your application was at the aim of the training. The objectives were gain more self-confidence for application procedures, increase self-expression, self-confidence, recognize own strengths, weaknesses and resources, position their own image in front of the camera, learn self-presentation with mobile phone videos, and have a completed application video at the end of the course. That was the objectives, were the objectives of this course. And the training has been done modular, and there you see the first 3 units on the topic. Your appearance, please. Design your application video with self-confidence. And the next general qualification topic was the digital skills. And this was also very important because we live in a digital world. Digitality is an integral part of our lives, and therefore it is really necessary to acquire basic digital skills. Yeah, and so we have developed the structure in the area of digital training opportunities, and that's the basic skills in the field of digital data processing systems, digital training, digital communication, and digital media. And based on that, the advanced skills about that, and then about the expanded skills in digital technologies, digital networks, devices, and digital machines, and then the professional specifics. And the basic skills are about the basic use of computers and internets. That's the basic knowledge and basic skills in using computers, other digital devices, and the internet. About the information, data, and media competence, the media design, digital communication, social media, security and privacy, digital training, and digital knowledge transfer. With this basis, there's already an established training on the market, a training system for getting digital skills, the European computer driving license, which consists of a basic module and as a standard module, and we offered our participants the standard module. The basic module is based on the computer basics, and standards is about presentation, image editing module, module IT security, module online collaboration, and the applied databases module. Also based on that, there is already developed a further training system. It's expanded skills in digital technologies, digital network devices, and intelligent machines, and that's the European driving license for robotics and intelligent systems. And the content of that is the basic and advanced robotics and the artificial intelligence basis and artificial intelligence advanced system. That is a training already that they try to offer also as a training system in Europe. And then we concretized the qualifications in general digital skills of the professional specific, and there are many different categories. For example, in metal and electrical engineering, there's the sensor technology, the automatization technology, and the smart techniques. And in the creative sector, there are the program applications for film and image, of animation, media design, or also the program applications and programming of games, for example. Or also in the traditional skilled crafts and trades, such as carpenters, stonemasons, masons, or locksmiths. There are the program applications of CAD, augmented reality, etc. The program applications on CNC machines, the program applications of 3D printing technologies. You see, there are a lot of really specific categories. And so we decided, because the one part is very specific, and the robotics are already a high qualification, you need already a high qualification skill. We decided simply to offer a training on the general level, the European computer driving license, on standard for 15 participants. And we started that in the course, and we have finished it in 2019, and then we started also a second term for further 15 participants. And this course is still, I think it will be ended in the middle of November, this course. And there you can see some insights how the course has been conducted. Yes, some participants, they try to get the computer informations. Yeah, and I think we have also some pictures of Corona time where they still have the course. So, and we also, the individual qualification are those where we have taken into account the interests and needs for the participants to guide them into the step to qualified jobs in specific. And so they are really quite different, and so really already come to the end. It is a great challenge to assist people with refugee backgrounds to get qualified jobs. And there, on the general level, it is simply elementary to be fluent in the language, spoken and written. That's really important. And in the individual area, there are two levels, the professional and the private level, which must be fulfilled for a qualified job. Yes, thank you for your attention and best wishes through the computer wherever you are now.
Thank you very much. I just have a question for you, Heidrun.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you please tell us where was the country of origin of your participants?
I didn't understand
the country of origin of the participants. Where do they come from?
That will Sophie say.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
She has exactly the list. They're coming from all over the world in a way, and so Sophie will bring that in down.
Okay. No, this question, because I see a question on the chat. This is from Melanie Henke aus Hamburg, from Hamburg, and it is a question for you, Justina. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see it. Yes,
it
is. So in our region, we don't have any migrants from Syria right now, but I don't know how it will be in the future. And those that we work with and that came to us were from Eastern Europe. And that's the larger group of our migrants, I think. What are our recommendations for the countries that are not so progressed in regard to integration, refugees? Well, we can recommend that they should involved in such projects as like Intact as soon as possible, and because the increasing number of refugees, sooner or later, this problem or maybe the chance will affect all of us. So it is so important to join this kind of project. And this is our recommendation.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I think it's still a big challenge. And the pandemic, the corona pandemic is unfortunately to make this challenge even stronger, but it is the future in any case. It is the present still. So I think it is the right direction. So after that, after the presentation of our colleagues in Austria and the contribution from Poland, we go on with the Italian experience. I have the pleasure to introduce you a colleague of mine. It is a colleague from an entity here in the region who is dealing with the integration of migrants and refugees. It is a body called Una Casa per l'Uomo, and in English it is a house for people. Okay, and so Stefano, are you online? Stefano? Just a minute, I try to understand if he is online or not.
Yes, he is, but we cannot hear him.
Oh, I can phone him just to understand.
He has the microphone switched off.
I phone him.
Yeah, better.
Good morning. Do you hear me? Sorry, I have a problem with the connection.
Okay, no problem, Stefano. You're welcome. We were prepared to phone you and to ask you to switch on the microphone. So, okay, thank you very much. Welcome. And we have already introduced you. So if you want to be so kind and describe how is the process of how the process of integration looks like in Italy. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you see the presentation? No? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, yes, we see it.
Okay. Okay. Good morning. I'm Stefano Buzzati from Una Casa per l'Uomo. This morning I want to explain you the how we work now with refugee in Italy. Our goals, the first goals is facilitate to regaining autonomy of the people, because the people arrived here have they have nothing. They don't have money. They don't have a job. They don't have a house, and they need to regain autonomy to live here in Italy. And the other goals is to facilitate integration into the community. Because it's very important to have a net to know people, Italian people, people from other countries that can help you in the process of autonomization, to regain autonomy. How we do this? The first step is learning Italian language. is very important. In Italy, Italian language is very important. we don't know other language. If you have to work in a is
In some cases, it is even better if you talk a dialect, but it's just
yes. If you want to work, to have a job, you need to speak Italian. Italian language is very, very important. After the Italian language, we help them to have a professional training, because after we see, to help in a job placement. And the last but very important is finding an accommodation, a house, because if they have a job and they have no an house, they can't work, they can't live here. The people, young people from 18 to 30 years old, from Africa, yes, many of them are from Africa, West Africa, Mali, Senegal, Niger, Nigeria, someone from East Africa, not many, and other people from Afghanistan and Pakistan. They have good motivation. They want to live here. They need to live here, because they left a place where live is very difficult, and here they want to live. But they have highest expectation. They want to start with a good job. Without Italian language, they think that they have to have to gain money, and they have very high expectation. They are low schooling. Someone have a small experience of schooling, someone nothing, and also they are young and they have little work experience. Not many of them worked before came here, because they left 15, 16 years. They arrive here 18 or 17, 16. Okay, learning Italian language. Italian language is necessary to start an integration path. The first step is a placement in language courses. Here we have two kind of courses: the CPEA, that are Center for Adult Education, and courses inside the projects. We have various projects for migrants, for people that arrive here that have asylum or other kind of protection. Inside the project, we have Italian courses for the people. But there is limits. Many of them have low education or are illiterate. In his history, they don't know the school. If they live in a place of Africa where there is no school, they don't know read, write, and it's very difficult. And another limit is that the knowledge of language is not a priority among them. They think that they can work, they can have a job without no language. It's not a problem for them to know the language. but is not real. After the language, we start with professional training when they have a minimum level of language. For us, language, we start to for here is A2 is the best. A2 level is the best for us. B1 is very difficult to find people with B1. A2 is the best. Initial assessment of skills, work experience, and expectation about training and work by questionnaire and interviews. We use the questionnaire and interviews to know the history of these people, to know the work experience, to know his skills and what they want, what they expect from his from the life here. After this activation of training course, here training are welding, electrician, or forklift license, because many of them find a job in a warehouse, and the course are very fast, from 40 to 100 hour, the course. And yes. And for the professional training, we work with internship in a company, because the company want to know the person, want to know the person before have a contract before. And internship is a good way, because they can work inside a company. The company can see see the skills of the person, and after maybe they can have a job inside the company. And we, in various projects, we have grants, and we pay grants for some months. For the company is good, because they have a person that work, but they don't have to pay grants. After, there is the job accompaniment in the curriculum writing. Many of them don't know how to write a curriculum. They don't have a curriculum. We have to explain that curriculum is not only the work experience, but other thing, the experience in his country, his skills is they need to know how write a curriculum. Preparation for the job interview, when they go to find a job, how they have to present them in the interview, many many things. Information on the method and channels of job searching. You can use internet. You can go directly in the company. There is other company that work for give a job center for work for job centers. They have to know where they can go and how they can search a job. And we monitoring the development of job searching. We we have a meeting with the people. We ask where they go, what they do in some in what how they search what in what factory or in what company they went, if they had an interview, if they give only the curriculum. We have a monitoring the development. And sometimes internship can have a transformation into hiring, and they can have a job after an internship. Maybe job for some months, 6 months, 1 year, not, but is something. The future needs of the project: expand and strengthen the network with an enterprise. We need to have a network to have many enterprise that collaborate with us, that need person. Now with the COVID is difficult. This question is very problematic. And to expand, not expand, and strengthen the network with training institution, because it's difficult to find a training for people that don't know Italian. It's difficult to find training, small training, for not 1 or 2 years of training, but 2 months, 3 months, and we need to have a network with the training institution and the enterprise. Okay, finito. Thank you for the. Thank you
Grazie
for
per l'attenzione, thank you for your attention in Italian. Okay,
yes,
just
in Italian. Thank
we
you
are
for your
talking
attention.
about we are talking about learning foreign languages, so this is a hint to start learning Italian. Yes, thank you very much, Stefano. You have mentioned an aspect that is very important: to establish, to reinforce the networking, the network that are active in the area at regional, national, and let's say international level. And this is still a challenge here in Italy. I'm talking about our problematics at the moment. And this is the challenge to establish a concrete network, because we are very good to talking about network, but implementing it in a real way is another thing. I have a question from the German partner, Jürgen Hoger-Foster, and here on the chat, if you can see, when a larger number of guest workers came to Germany about 50, 60 years ago, they worked immediately without having a good command of German and without having acquired any qualifications. Why is this not longer the case today? It's quite interesting, this question. I have to say that in Italy we experienced the same situation, I think 20 years ago, more or less, when a lot of people from Albania, from Romania, came to Italy to work as builders. There was a huge demand for such workers, and I have to say there were no problems at all to find a work. So it was not necessary to speak a good Italian, and they found a work immediately. So I think that the environment, the work environment was different. So at the moment in Italy, it's hard to find a job place for an Italian individual. So for this reason, if you come from Nigeria, let's say, it's a must to better know the language, because there is not so a huge demand of workers. So I think this is okay. I see another. If some other has another opinion or would like to add some contribution about this topic. No, I see another question. How long are the internship periods usually?
Usually around 6 months. 6 months or more, because the company here need to know to the people, to see if the people is the right person, if the person is the right for the company.
Okay.
Internship is a way they is not a contract. When internship stop, they close they don't have to go sorry,
No, dicono in italiano, traduco io.
No, è solo che è un modo per non avere un contratto subito e quindi essere più liberi dopo, alla fine del percorso, di poterlo chiudere senza...
Okay, usually, okay. My colleague says that to have an internship is an easy way to have a worker inside the company, because there are not so much formalities and bureaucratic steps. When it ends, you can close the work relationship without any specific problems. Okay, it's easier for the company to have an internship instead of a work contract, let's say.
They can test the person. They can test the person and see if it's good or not for the company.
Okay. But we would like to be positive, so we have a video. We have realized a video about a good experience that we had here in Italy. So if my colleague Matteo is able to launch the video.
Can I say something?
Okay.
To Mr. Holger Foster about his question, and it is very interesting, and we need to I don't know, understand what has changed so much that it is not possible to work immediately after arrival to the foreign country. And I think that few years ago people came, made money and went back to their country. And at the moment, most people do not have this possibility. They cannot go back. And perhaps the explanation is that people want to achieve more than just being ordinary workers. I don't know, with no knowledge of the language and no opportunities for development, or they want to be promoted and gain further degrees of education, or I don't know, they want to open their own companies. And maybe that is the answer why it's different this time in this reality.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to see how every country has a different point of view. I think it's the big thing and the big opportunity to work with at the European level with different partners. Thank you very much. And we go on with this video just to change. Okay.
Allora, io mi chiamo Diana Fraccaro e lavoro per la cooperativa Una Casa per l'Uomo. Si tratta di una cooperativa sociale nata nel 1992 che ha come scopo principale il conseguimento dell'interesse della comunità, e questo attraverso la promozione umana, attraverso la promozione delle pari opportunità e attraverso l'integrazione dei cittadini presenti nel territorio. Allora, i cittadini stranieri con cui noi lavoriamo provengono prevalentemente da paesi terzi, quindi al di fuori dell'Unione Europea. E nell'ambito del progetto Impact abbiamo implementato il nostro sistema di accompagnamento all'inserimento lavorativo. Possiamo dire che questo processo si struttura in 4 fasi. Una prima fase di conoscenza, un secondo momento di informazione e orientamento, un terzo passaggio relativo all'accompagnamento e poi una fase finale di monitoraggio e tutoraggio. La conoscenza della lingua è fondamentale in tutti gli ambiti della vita. Poi lavoriamo con persone adulte che hanno bagagli ed esperienze diverse, hanno anche dei livelli di alfabetizzazione diversi, e quindi poi rimane in capo al singolo capire quanto può essere importante e fondamentale conoscere la lingua. Allora, ho in mente un'esperienza abbastanza recente che riguarda 2 cittadini stranieri, un ragazzo del Mali e un ragazzo proveniente dalla Nigeria. Questi 2 ragazzi hanno avuto la possibilità di svolgere un'esperienza tramite un tirocinio in un'azienda abbastanza grande e rinomata del territorio. L'esperienza è stata positiva per i ragazzi, ma è stata forse anche di più per l'azienda, che soddisfatta dal percorso e da quanto fa per i ragazzi ha deciso di stipulare per entrambi un contratto a tempo indeterminato, e si è fatta poi da garante rispetto anche alla ricerca di una sistemazione alloggiativa. Quindi in questo caso il successo è stato su 2 fronti, rispetto sia all'inserimento lavorativo ma anche appunto alla ricerca di una casa. In questa esperienza credo sia stato importante poter conoscere, approfondire e confrontarci con modelli di accompagnamento e inserimento sociale, ma soprattutto lavorativo, di altri paesi che hanno partecipato al progetto Impact. Ad esempio il modello tedesco e il modello austriaco, che funzionano in maniera molto più snella e anche molto più efficace. Questo ci ha aiutato a fare anche un po' di autoanalisi rispetto a quelle che sono le criticità e le carenze del sistema italiano, andando a capire quelle che invece sono i punti di forza di sistemi come quelli appunto citati, che invece hanno un grande successo poi nel territorio. Probabilmente bisognerà implementare la rete di contatti nel territorio, perché quello che noi facciamo ha successo e molta rilevanza qui, nel luogo in cui noi siamo soliti muoverci e lavorare, ma essendo un approccio che ha dato buoni risultati sia in termini di esperienze positive e poi anche di inserimenti lavorativi, sarebbe interessante poter proporre e replicare questo tipo di sistema, quindi andando ad ampliare la rete nel territorio che si compone di realtà del privato sociale, ma anche poi di realtà profit che potrebbero essere interessate ad esperienze di questo tipo.
Io mi chiamo Mohamed Conde, vengo della Guinea, ho 20 anni, sono in Italia da circa 5 anni. Prima sono arrivato a Lampedusa, dopo Lampedusa mi hanno trasferito a Oderzo e sono rimasto là 1 anno, 6 mesi. Dopo che ho fatto commissione, ho avuto documento umanitario 2 anni e dopo mi hanno trasferito qua a Posani. Andavo a scuola e ho fatto corso di saldatura e dopo ho fatto stage per 2 mesi ancora, perché è un lavoro che mi piace molto, è il mio sogno da quando ero piccolo. mi trovo bene, sì. Loro scherzano sempre con me, mi dicono sempre bionda e io le dico che nero. Sì, lo dico sempre, vuole diventare nero? Sì, sì, voleva diventare nero, io vi aiutavi a diventare nero. Mi hanno aiutato per integrare, andare a scuola, cercare lavoro, mi hanno aiutato anche a fare corso di saldatura.
L'italiano pare che lo parli bene?
Sì, l'italiano, perché quando sono arrivato andavo sempre a scuola, sempre. Sì.
Sapete che è importante.
Sì, perché per comunicare con la gente devi imparare la lingua. E anche io ho fatto corso di cucina a Vittorio Veneto. Sì, la lasagna, il risotto. Ok, va bene.
So it was we tried to make it a little bit funny. It was a great experience. So Mohamed arrived here in Italy at least 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago. He was very young, but now it was, he's really happy because he feels that he has the possibility to build his future here in Italy. So we think it's the best way for us to have new energies to go on this way. So we go after Italy, we come back to Austria, and we have our colleague Sophie Bernett that she will introduce us to the concrete experience of integration, process integration in Wien, in Austria. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, maybe it's everything on the left.
Okay, is it
okay?
Now it's okay?
It's okay.
Okay. So, yeah, hello from Vienna. My name is Sophie Bernett, and I will tell you today about my experience as a coach in working with people with an escape background. So the requirements to participate in the INTECT project were people with refugee background, valid residence permit, no Austrian citizenship, and the language level at least B1, and age of majority. And sorry. And to find suitable people for the project, we had contact with organization in the fields of, sorry, sorry, I can't see my whole screen. Okay. Okay, I've got just, yeah, here, sorry. In the field of support for people with refugee background like Diakonie, MENT project, and contact through the participant of the last EU project, New Entrepreneur. Okay, so that doesn't move. Ah, sorry. I hope it will go now. Okay, so our assessment was not really a selection process. We didn't sort out the people afterwards. It was an opportunity to get to know each other and to talk about the project and the expectation of the participant. And we had 25 participants were invited, and all of them came. And we had many single appointments with maximum 3 participants. So the present at the assessment were the participants, the expert, and the coach. And we had a self-assessment questionnaire for the participant, and in groups of maximum 3 participants and the coach for assistance. Because the support was important, sometimes there were language problems. And after a short break, the individual discussion with the participant, the expert, and the coach took place. And the expert received the self-assessment questionnaire in advance. So the results of the assessment was it was important to fill out the questionnaire together because there were language problems and this could be overcome and trust can be built up. And nice part was the conversation that arose during the completion of the questionnaire could be taken up again at the expert discussion. And so a pleasant conversation situation without much nervousity was created. And the personal conversation with 2 different points of view and input is very profitable. Yeah, and all of the participants are highly motivated to find work. So, and here you can see our participants, much different to Poland and especially to Italy. So half of our people are from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Egypt, Iran, and Azerbaijan. And the average age is 35, so much older than in Italy. So our youngest is 23 and our oldest is 48. And as you can see, we've got a very high education level. So at the European qualification frame, there is 10 participants, they have at least 5 and more. And we had just one, he has no education at all. So he really started in Austria to write and to read. And yeah, here are some insights. So this is during the ECDL class, and here are some of the participants. And here in the middle, this blonde woman, this is the teacher from the ECDL driving license. Yeah, and as I said before, they have a very high education level, and we've got many people that they studied back home. So we have aircon, we have also handcrafts, we have an air condition engineer, but an 3 accountants, sport teacher, geologist, economy teacher. Some of them, they had their own company back home, furniture stacker, interpreter, event management and seller. Yeah, so they've got very different jobs and very much experience in working back home. But here in Austria, very few of the people can work in their area of origin. So what did they do here in Austria? So one of them, he works at the post office or at the airport, lifeguard, security, as a child carer in a drugstore. And some of them, they do trainings for nursing assistants, for example, or for retail salesmen. And just one of them, he could find a job as in his professional as an accountant. Yes, so the coaching has been very differently accepted. Some of them came very regularly, about every fortnight, only just if required. And some of them only uses the courses and the workshop. But the main part are the telephone coaching, even before Corona. And in the coaching, I help them with letter of application or support with finding a job, dealing with official channels, because that's really hard to get through this jungle, different researches for training opportunities, and the application for recognition of various training courses. That was very important part because, as I said before, many of them have got back home, they studied and they've got Zeugnisse. I don't know the word now, so but we have to help them and find internship. And the big problem was also to solving the housing problems, the family problems, Corona, because you can't worry for work if you don't have fixed these problems. So the challenges, as I said before, solving housing problems and issues related to resident status. Finding suitable internship also proved to be very difficult. And of course, finding suitable jobs and the Corona lockdown, like for all of us. Yeah. So the network, we had network with external partners like Caritas Commit or WKO Trade and Crafts Division or Wi-Fi Vienna. There we had most of our classes and some regional initiatives. So, and in different, as Heidrun told before, in different coaching, it turned out that some participants have problems with the job application in Austria. It was the formal application, but even how you talk there and you present your strange and especially because of Corona, the online application becomes more and more important. So we developed a workshop to strengthen the so-called soft skills and to practice presenting in front of the camera. And Heidrun said it before, so the aim of the training was gain more self-confidence for job interview and increase self-expression and self-confidence, recognizing your own strengths, weakness and resources, and position your own picture in front of the camera, and learning self-presentation with mobile phone videos. And in the end, the big goal was that everyone has got a finished application video. So it was 5 weeks long. It was one morning per week, so 4 hours. And we did it per Zoom. We had 8 participants. So we gave them theoretical inputs, but the main thing was practical experience, so in single and in pair exercise, and then many feedbacks in the round in the plenum. Yeah, here are some impressions of this workshop, so some of the participants. And the participant has to shoot small videos again on different topics. So some of them were funny, some of them serious. And here one of the participants presenting this video. Yeah, and it was very important, the general offer courses that we offered, like the different German classes and the HCDL courses. But very important, but just as important, is to give the participant more, to give them more professional opportunities where the individual courses. So some of them got individual courses like IT programming courses or sub-course for accounting, training for home help, then an advanced training in logistic management, and further education at the Bauakademie. And our experience at the end of this project, so many participants are really committed to find a job. And the continuous coaching has to be proven very important, because finding a job is often difficult in itself. but in a foreign country and with a background of escape, it's really good to have guides through the bureaucratic and mental jungle. We have also noticed that the appearance of offered courses increases when you have to pay a small deductible. And I was very touched by the positive attitude towards life that most of the participants have. Some of them had in their home countries, they have own company or often very high position. And here in Austria, they have to start from scratch, often in complete different profession, but still they don't lose their heart and keep a positive attitude. And that was really, yeah, it touched me very much. And all of the participants are very grateful for the opportunity to that they got through the project. Yes. So, hello, can you hear me?
It's very good.
Yes.
I can't, yeah. So, because I can't stop the presentation. Okay. Sorry. I'm not, as you can see, I'm not an IT profi.
You had to attend the
Can
course.
you tell me how I can leave? Ah, here. Yeah? Okay.
Okay. So
now I've got this, I've got also a little video. I had an interview with 2 of the participants. I will try if I can manage to.
Or if you want, we can launch it for you.
Yes, please.
Ah,
I
okay.
would appreciate
It's running. It is running. Okay.
Yeah, and I will, because it's in German, so I will write the translation in the chat.
Okay. Just to summarize the main topics of the interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Schönen guten Tag. Mein Name ist Juliane und ich bin Coach beim Erasmus-Projekt Kontakt, in dem wir 25 Menschen mit Fluchthintergrund begleiten am Weg zu einer beruflichen Integration in Österreich. Es werden Deutschkurse, verschiedene IT-Kurse und diverse Weiterbildungen und ein Coaching geboten. Ich durfte 2 Teilnehmer zum Projekt interviewen. Wie hast du von unserem Projekt erfahren? Ich habe über dieses Projekt von meiner alten Chefin in Bildung gehört und dann habe ich mich mit einer zuständigen Person angemeldet und Gott sei Dank, dass ich eine Chance bekomme, dass ich mit euch diesem Projekt seit einem Jahr machen kann. Danke. Du sagst willkommen, was war das? Was hast du da gearbeitet? Ich habe dort von April 2016 bis Ende 2017 gearbeitet als Backoffice und Projektmitarbeiterin, als Projektassistentin und ich habe mit vielen arabischen Menschen gearbeitet. Das ist ein Weiterbildungsinstitut. Ich habe dort die Rechnung erstellen und mit ÖIF auch im Startpaketprojekt gearbeitet. Und das war viele Kurse für die Flüchtlinge. Und wegen meiner Muttersprache Arabisch, es war eine große Chance, für 1,5 Jahre dort zu arbeiten. Und im Moment, arbeitest du im Moment auch? Ich arbeite seit 2015 in Caritas, in Community Cooking. Jetzt ich arbeite Teilzeit, 15 Stunden. Und parallel, ich habe viele Kurse mit euch besucht und ich versuche eine Chance in Buchhaltung zu finden.
Ich habe in Büro einen Deutschkurs gemacht Und meine Lehrerin, sie hat mir gesagt, du bist Businessman und du bist auch schon studiert auch Wirtschaft. Und sie hat gegeben mir eine Information.
Was hast du dir erhofft von dem Projekt oder erwartet? Ich habe gehört, dass es gibt eine Chance, dass ich mehrere Weiterbildungen besuchen kann. Ja, ich habe Deutsch gut besucht, ich habe SWL besucht und auch ich habe in der Corona-Zeit eine große Chance mit dir und Ursula ein Workshop, wie kann man sich in Arbeitsstelle bewerben. Und das war eine große Chance für mich, weil ungefähr nach 2 Monaten habe ich ein Vorstellungsgespräch bekommen und wegen eurer Video, die wir gemacht haben, die wir zusammen gemacht haben, habe ich dort meine Stärke dort präsentieren kann und auch gut präsentiert und gut eine Reflexion über mich sagen, was kann ich tun und was kann ich nicht tun. Und was war für dich so das Wichtigste aus dem Projekt?
Ich habe schon kurz mit B1 und B2. Ich habe schon gemacht. Ich habe ein CDL Computer von Schein auch gemacht. Und jetzt ich habe in dieser Jahre ich habe C1 Kurs online gemacht auch. Und das ist, ich finde, das ist sehr wichtig für mich und das ist auch sehr nett von Nico, das ist, komme zu mir und das ist auch geholfen mir sehr viel und du bist immer für mich interessant und ich schreibe zu mir immer E-Mail und brauchst du etwas und fragst du, was hast du für neue Idee oder was hast du gemacht und hast du auch hast du Arbeit oder hast du keine Arbeit? Ja.
Das heißt, neben den Kursen, die du machen hast können, war für dich das Coaching schon auch wichtig? Also
Das ist sehr wichtig für mich. Das ist sehr wichtig für mich.
Und arbeitest du jetzt? Hast du Arbeit gefunden?
Ja, jetzt, ich habe schon vor zwei Monaten, ich habe eine Arbeit gefunden, in einer Job, ich arbeite jetzt für kranke Leute in der aktuellen Zeit, du weißt jetzt Corona. Und ich helfe kranke Leute in einer Quarantäne. Wir arbeiten in einer Quarantäne, helfe im Samariterbund.
Und was ist aber deine Ursprungsausbildung?
Ich komme aus dem Irak. Ich habe 2 Universitäten studiert. Ich studiere erste Universität, ich studiere Elektronik Control Engineer. Das ist IT-Techniker, Hardware. Und ich studiere auch Wirtschaft, Business International. Ich habe eine eigene Firma für mich, auch Airport und Export.
Okay, ich sage das in Reihenfolge. Es war letztes Jahr im Dezember ein SWL-Kurs und das für mich eine Schritte, das ist ein Zertifikat behalten kann oder bekommen kann. Dann habe ich Deutschkurs C1 besucht und dann habe ich diese Soft Skills gemacht, diese Workshop und noch durch eure habe ich SAP-Kurs besucht. Das ist eine Software, die große Firma verwendet das für die Personalverrechnung, Buchhaltung, Debitoren, Kreditoren, eine Chance in einer Firma, eine Chance, einen Job zu finden. Und jetzt, es gibt bei jedem Job angeboten, SAP von Vorteil. Und für mich, das war eine große Chance, diese Kurse zu besuchen. Ja, das ist meine Hoffnung, eine Stelle in Buchhaltung finden. Oder in die administrativen Bereich. Ich arbeite auf beiden Bereichen. Ja, dann vielen Dank für das Interview. Danke dir und danke für eure Unterstützung.
Danke.
Okay, thank you very much for the contribution. I think that such videos give us the concrete impressions, I think, and I have appreciated from the two persons that you have interviewed, Sophie, that you can feel that they are so grateful and so satisfied with the path that they had the possibility to have with you, or not.
Yeah, as I said before, that's really, the people are so grateful and so engaged to find a job. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And these two, so Salva and Mohammed, they did every course, every class. So they took every class,
every single day he was there. He was very engaged. So thank you very much. As you can see on the chat on the right side, there are some, we ask your contribution if you have just a couple of minutes for completing a customer satisfaction questionnaire. And we would be very grateful if you can help us in this way. And then you can also see the link to a repository of all materials, the videos that you have seen during the conference, but also the record of the conference online of today. Okay, I think that the time has run so fast that we have reached 12 o'clock, so we are a little bit late, but if some of you have a question or would like to discuss some specific topics mentioned during the presentations. No, it's okay. Okay. But as I have said before, if you in the lunchtime you suddenly realize that you have some questions for our relators, please feel free to write us. And okay, if you have some questions, we are planning to send out an email with providing you all the links again. So that's all from my side. So I would like to thank you, everybody. I don't know if there is Max.
And also, if Jürgen wanted to say, add something following the agenda, just a final remark, or Max or Jürgen want to say or add something, feel free to.
I think we just wanted to thank also you and in particular Elena for hosting and moderating this event. And like Elena said, we will upload the videos also to the website. And if you have any questions later on, please send us an email and we'll be happy to answer the questions later on.
Okay. Thank you very much again, Dan. Have a nice afternoon and have a nice weekend too. It is Friday. So thank you very much and see you on the next online conference that we will have on the 27th of November. And Justina will wait for us online. So it would be a pleasure for us if you can join us also at the end, on the end of the month. Thank you very much. Bye to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.